Welcome back to the channel, everybody. In our last video, I went over my top 5 long-range meta builds for Warzone Season 5. And I figured, since I gave you guys the long range, I may as well give you the short range too.
That's a great idea.
So here are my top 5 short-range builds coming up for you in Season 5 of Warzone. Before we jump into the loadouts, if you guys enjoy the video, make sure you're smacking that like button and hitting the subscribe button if you want to see even more videos just like this one in the future. And with that, let's jump into our first loadout. The first close-range weapon we're going to be taking a look at is the ISO 45 SMG. This gun has been a very prominent fixture in the meta in recent seasons since it was added back in Season 4. And since it really has not got a substantial buff, it is definitely still meta. For our first attachment, we're going to head over to muzzles and throw on the XRK Sandstorm muzzle, which is going to help us out with vertical recoil. For the tunings on the Sandstorm, we're not going to go quite all the way up on the left. We're going to go to positive 0.25 on the left and all the way over on the bottom. For our next attachment, we're heading over to lasers, where we're going to throw on the VLK Laser 7 milliwatt, which is of course going to give us our sprint to fire time, ADS speed, and even help us out a little bit with aiming stability. For the tunings on our laser, we're going down to negative 0.25 on the left and going all the way over for aim down sight speed on the bottom. For our next attachment, we're heading to ammunition, where we're going to throw on the overpressured rounds. Now, I'm not normally a big fan of throwing on ammunition, but it does seem to really help out the ISO build. And in the ammunition tunings is where it really helps out, as we're going to get a little bit more damage range and bullet velocity with these bullets. Next, we're over to rear grips, where we're going to throw on the EXP shear, which is going to help us out with our sprint to fire time and ADS speed. For the attachments on our rear grip, since we're already getting a bunch of sprint to fire time and ADS speed, we're tuning this thing about halfway up for recoil steadiness and aiming stability on both tunings. And of course, for our final attachment, we're throwing on the 45 round mags so we can get as many bullets downrange as we can before having to reload. The ISO is and will continue to be a mainstay in Warzone until it is nerfed, and I don't see that coming anytime in the future. So definitely throw this thing on if you're a big fan of running and gunning, especially in Ashika and Vondel. Now let's head on to our second loadout of the video. For our next loadout, we have a new contender for one of the best SMGs in the game, the Vel 46, or the MP7 if you're a real Chad. The Vel has been kind of off meta in recent seasons, but after this newest update, it got a massive buff to damage and recoil, which is really going to put it above a lot of the SMGs in the game. For our first attachment, we're heading to muzzle. We're going to throw on the X10 Razor Comp. This is going to help us out with both horizontal and vertical recoil to tune that thing up and make it a beam. For the tunings on the muzzle, again, we're making this thing a beam, so we're going all the way up on the recoil stabilization and over to positive 0.2 on the bottom. Our next attachment, we're over to lasers, where we're throwing on the 1 milliwatt laser. Now, you might want to throw on the VLK laser if you want a little bit more aim down sight time, but this gun has a bunch of aim down sight time already, so it's best to have this one on so you're not seeing your laser. For the tunings on the laser, we're going all the way down on the left, and we're going to negative 25.07. I don't know why they couldn't just make it negative 25, but we're going to negative 25 on the bottom to help out with the ADS time. For the next attachment, we're heading to stocks, where we're throwing on the Demo RXT stock. This is going to help us out with sprint speed, going to help us out with aim down sight speed, and I guess crouch movement speed. I don't know why you really need that. For the tunings on the stock, we're going all the way down on the left and to positive 1 on the bottom. Next, we're over to rear grip, where we're throwing on the Slodger Soldier. I can't say that. We're throwing on this grip to help us out with sprint to fire time and ADS speed. For the tunings on the rear grip, we're going up to positive 0.4 on the left and to positive 0.25 on the bottom. And last but not least, of course, we're going to magazines for our final attachment, where we're going to throw on the 50 round mag, not the 60 round mag, as the 60 round mag is going to slow you down way too much. The Vel is making big moves this season in the meta, and you do not want to miss out by not having it in your loadout. And with that, let's head to our third loadout of the video. For our third loadout, we have a gun that has been beaming since the very first days of Warzone 2, the Vaznev 9K. While the Vaznev might be more known for a little bit of competitive multiplayer action, it still dominates on the Warzone playing field. For our first attachment, we're heading to muzzles again to throw on the Bruin Pendulum, which is going to help us out with our vertical and horizontal recoil control. For the tunings on the Pendulum, we're going all the way up to 0.8 on the recoil stabilization and all the way over to negative 0.35 on the bottom. Then we're headed over to lasers for our next attachment, where we're throwing on the FSS OLEV laser, which is going to help us out with our aim down sight time, sprint to fire time, and with our aiming stability. For the tunings on the laser, we're going all the way down on the left and going over to negative 30 on the bottom to give us a little bit more aiming stability. Then we're over to stocks, where we're throwing on the Ostrazat stock, which is going to help us with our aim walking speed and our sprint speed. For our tunings on the stock, we're going all the way down on the left and going all the way over to the right on the bottom. For our next attachment, we're throwing on another rear grip, the TrueTac grip, which is going to help us out, of course, with our sprint to fire time and ADS speed. For the tunings on the rear grip, since the Vaznev is a little bit slower with ADS time than some other SMGs, we're going to buff this thing down to negative 0.25 on the left and negative 0.15 on the bottom. And last but not least, we're throwing on the 45 mags as our last attachment to get as many bullets down range as possible. You guys are all familiar with the Vaznev by now. You all know that it's good, so give it a try this season if you're looking for something a little bit different. And on to our fourth loadout of the video. All right, guys, here it is. You've all been waiting for it. It's been the meta for the past 2-3 seasons now. We're here with my build for the Lachmann Sub. Like I said, you guys are very familiar with this weapon. It has dominated the meta in Warzone for almost 2 seasons now, and it is definitely the best choice this season as well. For our first attachment, we're going to barrels, where we're going to throw on the L8 Falcon barrel, which is going to help us out with movement speed and ADS time. That movement speed is a big factor. For the tunings on the barrel, we're going down to negative 0.35 on the left and going over to positive 2.5 on the bottom. For our next attachment, we're over to lasers, where we're again throwing on the 1 milliwatt. This gun does not need any more sprint to fire time, and you do not want that laser being seen when you're using this thing. For the tunings on the laser, we're going to negative 0.15 on the left and going over to negative 35 on the bottom. Next, we're over to rear grips, where we're going to throw on the TCG-10. I really like this thing since it definitely gives you a lot of recoil control. For the tunings on the rear grip, we're going down to negative 0.4 on the left and going over to positive 0.2 on the right, helping us out again with our aiming down sight speed and a little bit of aiming stability. For our second to last attachment, we're heading back to ammunition and throwing on the overpressured rounds once again. Just like these rounds did for the ISO, this is going to give us a little bit more damage range and bullet velocity, but I like to buff down the left-hand side just a little bit to give me a little bit more recoil smoothness as well. And again, we're heading to magazines for our final attachment, where we're throwing on the 40-round mags. I do not like to use the 50-round mags. Again, I think it makes you way too slow, so throw on the 40-round mags if you want a little bit more movement speed. Nothing needs to be said about this Lachmann, guys. You know it's meta, and it's gonna stay meta until they finally decide to give it the axe. And with that, let's head to our final loadout of the video. And last but not least, I'm giving you guys a little bit of a wild card this season. I'm throwing in the Kastov 74U as one of my top 5 meta weapons. Now, of course, this is not an SMG, so it's gonna be using up your AR ammo, but this thing just does way too much damage and is really good for a sniper support. I had to put it in my top 5. For our first attachment, we're heading to barrels, where we're gonna throw on the BR209 barrel, which is going to help us out with ADS time and movement speed. For the tunings on the barrel, we're going all the way down on the left and going over to negative 0.15 on the bottom. We're over to lasers for our next attachment, where we're throwing on the Schlager Peck Box 4. Again, you could throw on the FSS OLEV laser, but I like to not have that laser up, and this gun already has tons of speed. For the tunings on the laser, we're going all the way down on the left and to negative 15 on the bottom. Then we're over to stocks, where we're throwing on the Ostrazat stock, which is going to help us out with our aim walking speed and sprint speed. For the tunings on the stock, we're going to get a little bit more aim down sight time, going to negative 1.75 on the left, and we're going to get a little bit more walking speed when we go to negative 1.35 on the bottom. For the next attachment, we're going to rear grips, and we're throwing on the TrueTac grip, which is going to help out with our sprint to fire time and ADS speed. For the tunings on the rear grip, I don't touch anything. I kind of like it right where it is with these tunings, so I don't touch anything on the rear grip. And last but not least, we're over to magazines, where we're throwing on the 45-round mag to make sure we're getting as many bullets down range as we can. This AKU is so underutilized and so underrated in Warzone, and I can't believe it isn't used more. Its only real downside is the fact that it uses AR ammo, and if you can get past that, this thing is a top option for close range. Before we go, I do want to give you guys a couple honorable mentions that you could throw in your loadout for Season 5, the first of which being the FSS Hurricane. The Hurricane has not really been a top option in Warzone, but it's seen a lot of buffs in recent time, and now with a bunch of damage and low recoil, and the fact you do not have to throw in a magazine, this thing could be a top option. And for our last honorable mention, here comes another wild card. I've got the FR Avancer built out like the old FFAR from Warzone 1. This thing is not really going to be a top option for you, but boy is it fun to use. Giving this thing as much speed as you can and throwing on that stock for some extra strafe speed makes this thing fun as hell. And those were my top 5 builds for close range in Season 5 of Warzone. Definitely give all all these builds a try, guys. They're gonna be great for your loadout, and if you do use them and you like one, come back to this video and let me know down in the comments below which one was your favorite. And if you enjoyed the video, do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe so I know to make more videos like this one in the future. With that being said, thank you guys, love y'all, and we will see you in the next video.